Yes, we are.
Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to Playing with Forms. I am Eduardo Duran. This is a place where we share stories, experiences, and we provide tools to help us experience life from a different place to discover who really are. And I'm here with Adriana. And Adriana, how are you?
Hello, Eduardo. Welcome everyone to Playing with Forms. It is a pleasure to be here. Welcome to our space, to our weekly space, where we have the opportunity to understand, to integrate all the knowledge that the higher dimensional beings share with us through their communication with Eduardo. Information that is channeled and transcribed, and in his books uh, called also Playing with Forms. This is
Oh,
in
you have
Spanish.
it. Yeah.
Um, so, first, I would like to remind you to subscribe to our channel, to activate the bell, and to leave your questions, suggestions, everything you want to say, because it's very important for this transmission. And all the content would be, based on your questions and your suggestions. And of course, if you want to leave hearts, fingers, and share with your friends, would be highly appreciated. So I would like to start to briefly mention that we started like exploring all the information that that Eduardo shares with us in the book. In the first book, because there are four books, we are, now focusing on the first book of Playing with Forms, because it's like following the process that Eduardo was immersed in, and it seems like the higher dimensional beings plan it to be. Uh, like it was like smooth, simple, and step by step. And for some reason I decided to follow and to just um, uh, you know um, take advantage of that rhythm, of that and that pace. And so we are um, basing our first programs or transmission in the first book, that really, by the way, you have to buy and read. There's so much information and interesting stories and tools that Eduardo and the higher dimensional beings share with us. So, well, for today, I chose the idea of talking about the energy of the money. I mean, since last our last transmissions, we started talking about what would be like the first tool that I found on the first book, that is observing our thoughts. So, and with regards of that, I just started like paying attention on my thoughts, on my daily activity, and then something came up, and it was like, how is my belief system interfering with the life that I have? And especially with regards of the money. The money is something that we have been trained or modeled or programmed by, thinking that everything has to be with money. So observing our belief system, Eduardo, would be a nice and smart way to start, like, observing our thoughts. What do you think about that?
Well, yes. One of the things that I always encourage people, or I think something is very important for us to be aware of, is how it's our relationship with money. The same way we have a relationship with people, it's important for us to look at ourselves how we are internally, because these we're not interacting with people, we're interacting with ourselves, with the forms that we create internally. So the same happens with money. So I like to call it our relationship with money. One of the things that are quite common in our society is that we automatically relate money to obtaining things. So, or we always think that we have to work in order for us to get money so we can get things. So we kind of relate work equals money. I don't really see it that way. That was one of the things that I learned how to remove out of my belief system. And but I think that's very common for us to have because we have been programmed our whole lives to believe that there is that money, that work means money. So that by observing how we're actually, because if we believe that, our beliefs are going to affect the way we interact with
Yeah.
our reality.
Yeah. So
So it's, yeah,
yeah. No, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
right. So this idea about reality is not something, it's something that we are creating ourselves. It's something that we usually tend to make ourselves the victims and blame everyone else, or the stars or the moon or whatever.
Yeah.
But we are responsible for whatever we manifest, because at the end we are manifesting together this idea of reality with
Yeah.
our thoughts and belief system.
Yeah.
So the same is happening with money.
Yeah.
um,
This is this I found this very, very interesting because when I was doing my exercise or my homework, I started thinking about money or my relationship with money, and then I discovered that in during when I was younger, um, in my childhood, I perceived or I was taught something about money that is affecting me in my present life. I mean, uh, I listened to my father saying that we have to work hard to get everything we want first. Uh, well, in America, it's time is money, right? So you have to sacrifice all your time working in order to have money. But in Mexico, also happens that when you meet someone that is rich, there's always like a subtle questioning ourselves, saying, "What is she doing to get that amount of money?" So we are relating being a good person or a bad person with money, with their, with the. It's ridiculous, but it happens so much, and so I was thinking, I am a personal coach. I do my consultancies, and sometimes in order to when they ask me, okay, how much is for an hour or something, it's really hard for me because the idea of the money is not related with the value of your service or of your time, but there's a misconception about it in our minds. um, and so I realized that, and I think, and you agree, that is the first great step to be aware of that. But then what do I do with that? Because there's a whole bunch of concepts about money that provide. I mean, from my parents, from my ancestors, from the whole community, the collectiveness is super heavy in that term. So everything has to be with money. And I know in your books you talk about that in such a different way. Why don't you tell us about your personal experience when you were being trained? What did you learn? How was your before and after all this?
Yeah. Okay. So one of the first thing that I learned about, well, first I saw amazing things. I will tell you some stories later, but one of the first thing that is important for us to be aware of is our relationship with money. Like we really have to be aware of them. So one of the easiest way for us to be aware of this relationship that we have about money is to understand how we actually look at it. One of the first changes that I had in this regard is that I had to change the mentality, not so much the way you speak, because you can speak the way you want it, but what's really happening inside is what really matters to you. So I started to change the idea instead of saying, I need to buy something, I started to say and think, because again, it doesn't matter what you say, it matters what is inside you. I started to say, I need to get something, I need to obtain something. So just by thinking differently, your belief system, and you have to be really honest with yourself. If you say it, it doesn't really matter how you say it. What matters is what's happening inside you. So I started to change my belief system, and I started to convince myself that I don't really have to think directly on how to get something through money, because by saying buying, you indirectly are putting some thoughts that you have to do it through money. But when you start saying that you need to get something, you're not defining how you're going to get it, because there are many ways to get things. And if we're just limiting ourselves to a specific way how to get something, then we're missing out a lot of opportunities of how we could have gotten whatever we are thinking of. So one of a simple exercise for us just is just to try to visualize, but very authentically. It's not, let's say that you want to get an article or a product, or let's say a car or whatever. Just try to visualize that you really have to think about something that you can afford, not something that is too far from you. So just try to
Okay.
visualize something like a car, for example, but you have to visualize it, or I mean, you can take any example you want, but visualize it and look at the first thought that come to you. Let's say that you're thinking like, okay, I need to get a car, not to buy a car. I need to get a car. And when you start having this form in your head, this story, then observe immediately what kind of thoughts are coming to you related to this topic. If you lose that thought, it doesn't matter. You can just think about another product, something that you can actually afford at some point, and then think about the first thought that are coming. It can be an obstacle. It can be something like an excuse for you to say, I cannot get this because of that, or
Yeah.
I have to work. So just try to observe it in a way that don't try to visualize it as something I can get, not something I have to buy. Because the moment you say buy, you automatically think money, you automatically think work. So I have to work harder in order for me to get money. And that's automatically you putting yourself a limitation in your belief system. So something that I have, something somebody told me once, that uh, they tell me a story that, uh, like for example, they're saying this happened to me, and this happened to me, and this happened to me, and then I say, okay, tell me the same story again. So they repeat the same story, but and this happened to me, and this happened to me, this happened to me, and then a few minutes later, then I ask again. So tell me that story again, and then they say like, well, this happened to me, and this part is not so important, but then this happened to me. So when we start looking at something, um, often we kind of get bored of it, and we start to change the form, we change the story by ourselves, because we are full of excuses, we are full of victimism. We are making ourselves a victim all the time, but we are not aware that we are doing it. So the moment we start looking at it and we get tired of ourselves, we see how ridiculous our stories are. But we cannot realize how ridiculous they are, these stories, because we have never seen them. So just by being aware of our relationship with money or anything else, then we start to realize how ridiculous we are. So because we are really, I think one of the biggest problems in society is that we are full of victimism. We are making
Yeah.
ourselves a victim very often, but we don't
Yeah.
realize because we're not aware of how we are creating our own forms. So by
Right.
being aware of our forms, we're going to realize how much of a victimism we can be.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that you say that, it's awesome because now you know you're saying that, and then I'm starting to think and to relate all that with myself, with my life. Because I mean, I think I doesn't have anything, certain of anyone but me. And what happens is it's so comfortable to have all the excuses, right? So it's like, okay, I don't get this because it's too expensive and I don't have the money, or I don't have that because sometimes or many times I don't, I think that I don't have something because I don't deserve it. That's something that happens very frequently, at least in my life. And so I just pick some excuses from the outside that help me to just stay where I am, and avoids my possibility of creating something that I really like. So we are immersed in this false reality, but we are missing something very important, that is getting what we really want when we want it. And I know that you have beautiful stories in your book, and I really encourage all of you guys who are watching this transmission to buy the book and read it, because there is so much information, not only with regards of the money and personal tools, but also about all the story of the world, all the manipulations that we have been victims from, that we bought and we just keep in the same unconsciousness, no? And but what Eduardo is saying now is that by making a pause and observing our thoughts and being honest, I think that step is fundamental. The honesty with ourselves,
Mhm.
we really can realize what is really happening, and that necessarily will take us, or give us a lot of possibilities. So I'm not a victim anymore. I am in control of my life, and I decide to get something differently. But if I was told that I have to buy everything, and if I don't get all the money that I need to buy that, what do I do? How did you do it? Because I know you have done so many things. So what did you do?
Yeah, well, actually, changing my beliefs, and one of the first things was changing the way I see things, my form, basically. So, like, even with smaller things, like what I said about instead of buying, getting something. So, just by changing my way of looking at things, of course, my reality started to be different. One of the another thing that is very common to believe in our society is that evil is the root of sorry, the money is the root of all evil. I don't really see it that way. I think it really depends on every person. It's not that money is evil, but the way money is used can be evil depending on the person. So we tend to relate money automatically as something negative, but it really doesn't have to be like this. Now, we don't have to get everything through money, because there's people who can get a lot of things without actually limiting themselves to get it through money. And well, I think I wrote it in the books. I traveled several months without any money at all. I also I was traveling. I was getting things without any money involved at all, and even a house. Actually, I was thinking once that I was thinking like, wait a minute, if I can get stuff what I need, and look at what I said, if I need to get, because I'm not putting myself in a limitation that I need to buy. And I thought I can get a house without getting any money involved. And it happened. I mean, it was just temporary because a friend of mine told me like, "Hey, you can live in my house for a while because I'm not going to be living here."
Oh,
So I thought,
yeah.
okay, it came to me. It's just I was not. Um, I forgot to say that I want a house for a longer time, but never mind. But at least it happened. And there were many other things that I got. So it is possible. There are some cases where a person is not able to manifest or get in their lives whatever they need, and that's because in some cases people actually came to experience poverty.
Yeah.
So that's a different thing. But in most cases, is that we are blaming others or external thing to us for
Yeah.
whatever we cannot manifest. But we are always responsible for whatever we manifest, and we have to take responsibility for that. There's
Yeah.
also a very common belief between spiritual people that we have to be poor. Many people, at least in my experience, I have seen many spiritual people are thinking often about, or they see money as something evil, and therefore they try to live without money. But it doesn't really have to be like this. It's their beliefs, which can be
Yeah.
respected, but again, the beliefs affect pretty much everything what they're going to manifest.
Yeah.
And um, so
So uh, um, that made me think about you know so many religions that they compare uh, the good life and the spiritual life with the poor people. That's true. And yeah, sometimes we are confused about being immoral and a good person with the rich or poor people. So that's one of the first beliefs that we have to work with. And so we are about to finish this broadcast, and I just would like to emphasize the idea of where we began about observing our thoughts. So everything that comes into our life starts with thought. So instead of buying, I'm gonna say I'm gonna get this at certain time. So I think to be rich is to be able to get whatever I want in the moment that I want it, right? As that's something that I read in your book. So really, guys, you guys have to really buy the books and read them. You're gonna be, overwhelmed with all the incredible information that Eduardo shares, and then start observing our thoughts, and then changing and being responsible. And if we want to have a different life, we have to change the way we think. And then we can start in the morning really early, just being aware of our thoughts and just change them and convince our minds that that we think in a new way, right, Eduardo? So I really want to thank everyone who was with us. Remember to leave your comments, your questions, your suggestions. Don't be shy. Whenever you're watching this broadcast, you can share with us here in comments. We would be really amazed by responding your questions or comments, whatever. So don't forget to stop and observe what you think and start your day just doing that, because our mind can lead us to the life that we desire, and the one that I think we all came to experience. So, is there anything else that you would like to share with us, Eduardo?
just a couple of things that I want to mention. I forgot to mention, but I want to mention that it's also possible to even manifest physical money. I have experienced this, and I think some people have experienced that money, physical money, appears out of nowhere. That's another
Mhm.
thing that I forgot to mention. There's another thing that you asked me what I changed, and one of the things, well, I have like 8 years that I don't work too much, and that's because I changed my idea. I mean, I work, but when I say it, I say at work, but what I think inside is that I have a contract. I don't really think that I work, because usually I have to, if I really think, I mean, I can say that I work, but inside I believe that I have a contract. Because the moment I say, or let's say that believe that I work, then I probably will relate that to the idea that I have to do something in order for me to get something. But I don't really see it that way. I really put a lot of effort on my beliefs to believe that I have a contract. Therefore, it's not the same as having to work a lot in order to get a lot. And that really helped me a lot. It changed a lot of things in me internally. And I think something that is going to help us a lot is really to believe that we can what Adriana mentioned that is in the book, that getting what we need in the moment we need, and pay attention to how is said, to get
Mhm.
what we need, not to buy what we need. Because we're not limiting ourselves to get it through money, because just one way to get things, just one form, one story that we're telling ourselves to. But if we're telling ourselves that we're going to get it through money, then we're limiting ourselves on how we're going to get it. And just to finish this today as a little homework, as homework, we can have this idea that we can look at ourselves or try to visualize something that we want to get, not to buy, something we want to get,
Yeah.
something that is affordable for us. And whenever we start thinking about it, we can observe what kind of thoughts are coming to us. Maybe it's a limitation, maybe it's something else, but the idea is just to observe it. If the thought is gone, we can think about another article or something that we want to get. We think about it and we start to observe what kind of thoughts are coming to us. So
Yeah.
just by observing them, we're going to start to realize how we're having this relationship with money or with the articles or the products that we want to get. It is not
Yeah.
important to know how to solve it or what to do with this. It's just important for us to know that it's there, to be aware. That's how we start living more aware of ourselves, more conscious, living consciously. And
That's
that's all for
living
today.
beautiful, Eduardo. Thank you so much. I will do it right away. Living, trying to live consciously, and of course, be patient because it's just, it's a process that we have to go through. And I think it can be a very loving process, but it requires constance and discipline. And Eduardo in the books is showing us how to do it. So read the books, and we'll see you next week at the same time. And have a wonderful rest of the week, Eduardo. Thank you so much. It was
Thank you.
a pleasure to be here with you and learn so many things about having a great life. Just observing our thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. See you
Take
next week.
care. See you next
Bye
week,
bye.
guys. Bye bye.